Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Hello, my next level friends. Sergio Gomez here, and I want to welcome you to a brand new episode of the Artist Next Level podcast. Today, I'm going to have a great conversation with my friend and gallery owner, Renée LaVerné Rose, and we're going to talk about protecting yourself from art scams. Yep, perhaps you have been victim of one of these art scams, or perhaps you have seen them around, coming through your email quite often. They not only come to artists, but they also come to galleries. So we're going to have a great conversation about that and how to discover some of those red flags that you want to be aware about before it's too late. So it's going to be an awesome conversation. But before I do that, I want to invite you, my friend, to download the Artist Survival Kit 2017. This is a brand new, well, it's an updated ebook. This is one that I released a year ago or so. And now I have done a revision. I have added more content to it. So this is the 2017 Artist Survival Kit ebook, Organization and Productivity Guide. It is a wonderful list of great tools and resources for the contemporary artists. In the ebook, you will discover how to organize your inventory more efficiently, how to manage your social media like a pro, how to learn on the go, how to stay connected with your audience, how to set and track SMART goals year-round, and a whole lot more, and a few other surprises that you will find in the ebook. So it's absolutely free to download. Just go to theartistnextlevel.com and you can find a banner right there where you can download the Artist Survival Kit 2017. So hope you enjoy it and share it with your friends as well if you find it useful for your own art career. Well, my guest for today is Renée LaVerné Rose. With over 20 years of experience in government administration and politics, Renée transitioned her wealth of expertise into the art world as a visual artist and currently is founder and owner of ACS Gallery and ACS Magazine. ACS Gallery is housed in one of the most diverse art communities and distinguished locations in the Joby Art Center in Chicago. The ACS Magazine offers a wide range of works from emerging and established contemporary artists. The ACS Magazine was launched in September 2015. The magazine provides its audience with a front row seat and a behind-the-scenes view of the art world's inner workings, with its colorful players and diverse cultures that are enriched from these creative minds. And I'm really excited to have in the program for a wonderful conversation, Renée LaVerné Rose. Hi, Renée. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing, Sergio?
I am doing great. I want to welcome you to the Art Next Level podcast. Are you ready to take us to the next level?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Thanks, Renée, for joining us today. It's going to be a great conversation. We're going to talk about online art scams that are very common these days. So both on the side of the gallery perspective and also on the side of the artist perspective. So it'll be a great conversation. But before that, we want to also get to know you a little bit better and talk about some of the projects and things that you are doing yourself as well. And so I think it's going to be a great conversation. And I'm so excited that you're joining us today because we had talked about doing a podcast episode sometime last year. And then it just kind of time went by and we were chatting just this past week about online art scams, as you have experienced also with some people who have tried to scam you as a gallerist, and also sharing also my stories of how that has happened to me also as an artist. We said, hey, let's get together and let's do a podcast that can help folks out there to kind of recognize red flags when they come in, and be really alert, because these things are happening more often than we wanted to accept, I think.
Exactly. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So the more that we can provide, I think that our friends will be protected so that they can also identify when some of these things happen. But before we talk about online art scams, why don't we talk about something a little bit more positive? Let's talk about you, Renée, for a little bit. We have known each other for quite a few years, and it's been great working with you in different things, different projects. Along that time, you have now a gallery. It's called ACS Gallery, and I'm proud to say that you also represent my work through the gallery. So it's been a great partnership between both of us. And but I don't want to say too much about it. I would like if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and how you started the gallery, and also a little bit about your background, because you have quite an interesting background. You came from politics, and tell us a little bit about that world and how you transitioned into the art world.
Okay, sure. I was in the political arena and government arena for over 25 years. I did political strategy, policy analysis, public affairs, government relations, and logistics. And I was lobbying when I first transitioned into the art world. I was really, really busy. I was in the height of my career. And then I decided to take some art classes because I'm a visual artist also. And I fell in love with that. That was about 2008. So after I was an artist for a while, I visited a couple of artists that you know, Diane and Mario, at the Joby Art Center, and I started coming up there every week. And one of the artists, Parker Harlow, who's no longer at the Joby Art Center, next to him, our art studio became available, and he told me, "Hey, well, why don't you apply to get in?" I said, "Oh, they'll never accept me." So I applied, and I got in. So in 2014, April, I became an artist resident at the Joby Art Center. And after I started showing my own art for a while, I couldn't turn my business side of my brain off. So I started saying, I think I want to start have art shows for other artists. So I started exhibiting artists in 2014 and did that for a while and curated group shows and a couple of solo shows. After I did that, I said, I think I'm going to start my own gallery. So I started my own gallery, ACS Gallery. ACS stands for Arts and Cultural Strategies. I shorten it because that's kind of a mouthful. And I had this long email address, website address. And somebody I know named Sergio said, you may want to shorten your website address. So I shortened my name to ACS Gallery. And I started developing my whole strategy of what I want to do in the art world. So basically now I have a full-fledged gallery, which actually launched in January of this year. I also represent you. I have a new artist that's going to be coming online. So stay tuned, everybody. I'll be announcing that probably in about 2 weeks. And to really get my name out there, because nobody really knew me in the art world, I started an art magazine in September of 2005 to help brand myself and brand my name. I did it specifically for that. And in my art magazine, I show artists from established artists, from entry-level artists all the way to established artists. And I show artists from all around the world, from every genre in the art world. You can think from sculptors to painters to graffiti artists. And I started it and didn't know how well it would take off because it's a digital magazine. I don't do hard copies. And it really took off. And now I have a nice international following. And the magazine is bi-monthly. It comes out. And I also do special issues. Last year, I got accepted. I applied and didn't think it was going to happen. I applied to go to Art Basel to get press credentials. And I got accepted. Oh, that was so exciting because that was my first time in Art Basel. And I did a special issue on art magazine for Art Basel. So that came out very well. So I'm now also in November of last year to help get my gallery out there and to really get me seen and known. I applied to get into artsy.net, which is an international art platform which has well-known galleries, museums, art dealers, collectors, etc. And I got accepted. So I've been in Artsy ever since November of last year. And I, of course, show your work, which I'm so pleased about. And I also show 25 other artists' work. I just show their work for being available for sale. And your work, of course, I represent you in my gallery. You show in my gallery, and you're one of my represented artists. The other artists, I just sell their work. But it's a really nice array of artists from local, national, and international artists, and they all have different styles. So it's a nice collection of really outstanding art.
And it's been a great journey for you since you started, because you completely left the political side of you, right? And you went
Yes,
100% into
yes,
the art world, which it was a
yes,
great
yes.
transformation to see.
Yeah, it is. I'm now full time working in the art world. Before I was part time, but now I'm full time.
Hmm.
And a lot of people ask me, God, politics and the art world, those are like diametrically opposed type of arenas. But actually, for me,
Hmm.
I see a lot of similarities
Yeah.
because the positive part is both worlds try to become a bridge to bring people together and for people to express themselves.
Hmm.
I guess the other part is too is can be very provocative. Obviously, politics is very provocative now,
Hmm.
but the art world can be very provocative because you can have artists to introduce a subject that's really sensitive to get people to think about things.
Hmm.
So I do see the similarities, and I do take my business experience from the politics and the government and the corporate, and I apply it into the art world, and it's actually working nicely for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the skills that you learn in one could for sure be applied in the other one. And at the end, is both our world and business world and political worlds is about working with people, right? And how in our interaction
Exactly.
with people and so forth. So I think that is very important, something that you're very good at as well. And let's talk about also your ACS magazine. I'm really excited to see that. The number of downloads keeps increasing. And what's the most recent number? I don't remember
The
your
most
statistics,
recent,
which are pretty astounding.
yeah, my most recent, I'm up to two 267,000 and more views of my magazine,
Which is
which I'm,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I'm trying to increase that more and more.
Hmm.
I just have to keep plugging at it and get out there more and probably market it more. But I had no idea it was going to go up to that. I've
Yeah.
got very good reception. I've been very pleased
Hmm.
because I've had so much response for artists who really want to be in a magazine. I get a
Yeah.
variety of artists, so I'm very pleased with it.
No, that's fantastic, and especially in a time like this where everybody's bombarded with so many things out there. There's so many resources. There's so many websites, so many podcasts and blogs and things. To add one more, it's a it's a busy landscape, but you have done a really great job of branding yourself in the gallery and the magazine. And that people can recognize it and share it with their friends, and that's how I think how it's been growing very well for you. So congratulations on that. That's a nice thing. Pretty soon we'll be celebrating your 500,000 views. That would be
Oh,
great.
I wish. I'll be so happy. That's one of my goals. I'll be so excited if that happens.
Absolutely. Now, how do you find artists for the magazine, or how can artists find you to be featured at the magazine?
Well, actually, I have found artists through Facebook,
Hmm.
through LinkedIn, through Instagram, because now that the magazine has started, I have been bombarded with,
Hmm.
I can say, hundreds of artists who are interested in being, shown in the magazine or being shown in my gallery. However, I really don't show artists in my gallery, but it does help me grow through and kind of establish a relationship with other artists, find out what's going on in their part of the world or their part of the country. So I usually email back and forth with them. They always send me their websites. So when I see something that really stands out, I have a list of artists
Hmm.
that I can choose from. So thank God I don't have a shortage of that. And I also have gotten magazine artists for my magazine through Art Next Level because you
Hmm.
have a nice array of artists who are really passionate, who are really working hard on their careers. And I kind of focus on those type of
Hmm.
artists who are really working hard, who are showing some progress, and just need a break and need more exposure and more promotion for their careers.
Hmm.
So it's really been fun. I'm really networking and meeting a lot of people.
Absolutely, that's awesome. And at the end of the program, we're going to share your website and social media and all that, so friends don't go away, so that you can get in a hold of your own digital copy of the ACS magazine, and you can learn more about Renée's gallery, ACS gallery as well. So stay tuned to the end of the episode where we will share how to get a hold of you, how to
Yes.
find you in all this online media. So, Renée, let's talk a little bit about online art scams, which is a topic that you and I were talking about the other day. And we'll talk about again from your perspective, as you have had some experiences from people trying to scam you as a gallery, especially now that you are on Artsy and you have so much artwork out there being offered to the to collectors and to the general public, how do we identify red flags that we should be aware of? And I will also share a couple of emails that I have gotten that also were very scammy, and how to identify those. So maybe we start, Renée, with one of the stories that you and I have that comes from both working together, me as an artist, you as a gallery. I think it was last year, wasn't it, when we were contacted by a supposed collector who was interested in one of my pieces, and for some supposedly high-end hotel in the Middle East. And we started some research, and you told me, I remember you said, this doesn't feel right. Let's look into it. And you did the diligent work of looking into it. Let's talk about that. What can you share about that particular experience?
Yeah, well, what happened, the particular, it was actually, this person was actually posing as an art dealer for a very wealthy Middle Eastern hotel owner. And the email came in, and she actually saw your artwork on Artsy. The one thing I've noticed, because this is the second time it's happened, I will flag that this particular dealer did not contact me through Artsy. Artsy has a system where if they like some of the artist's artwork, anybody has an inquiry, you can contact them, the person who's selling the art, the gallery, through Artsy, and you start a conversation.
Right.
Well, this particular dealer didn't do that. They contacted me by my email. She must have went to my website.
Yeah.
So she went to my website and said she saw two of your works that were more of a high-end price works. Let's say they were $5,000 a piece, for example. And she contacted me and said, "Oh, I'm contacting you about these two works by Sergio Gomez, and the hotel owner is remodeling the hotel. All the flowery things in the hotel, and they're decorating, and they would like to purchase these two pieces. But then she asked me how much the pieces were, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah." And so when I quoted her the price and told her how much they were, she says, "Well, he only wants to spend $8,000 or no, correction. I think it was like $6,000. That's what he has. That's what he's allocated to spend for this amount, this amount of artwork. And because he has other artwork he wants to buy." I said, "Well, the price is $5,000, and no, I will not lower my price because you're a first-time buyer, and for first-time collectors, I don't offer discounts, and this is what it is. So maybe he may want to purchase one of the pieces, and just focus, probably purchase a smaller piece." So the first thing that was a flag, the dealer kept haggling me. She would wait a little while. Yeah. That's another thing. She would come back and say, "Oh, well, I don't know if the hotel owner, this is the process. It's such a long process to get the invoice approved by, this is a corporation, so we don't want to go back and hassle them. So is there any way you can lower the price for the art?" I said, "No, I will not do that." I said, "Why don't he just buy one piece, and you can pick a smaller piece that'll be within the price range of $6,000. So I would tell her that, and then she wait a couple of days and email me back. And to make a long story short, she really was trying to get me to lower the price of these pieces. And also, I told her I wanted to pay through PayPal, and she was saying she didn't want to do that she would give me a cashier's check.
Which is a typical red flag right there, yeah. Right,
that's a red flag. So for everybody who's out there, the one thing I do to help to try to stop scams, because I just had do you want me to tell you about the recent story I had too?
Yeah, might as well. Let's put both.
So the one scam I just told them where they were trying to buy your art, I call that the pressure technique. The person's like, "You got to hurry up. We want to do this right now, in a week or 2 days." When somebody's spending thousands of dollars and they're in a hurry, that should be a red flag to you. I call that the pressure technique. The most recent one I had this year, I call was the multi-level scam.
Right.
This all actually involved about 8 different people. They had websites set up, and it was an art dealer. She contacted me and saw something online at Artsy, but she didn't contact me through Artsy. Again, she contacted me through my email, and she said she was a dealer and she was buying for a corporation to collectors that were in the World Trade Center at that. And she wanted to buy this particular artist's art piece. So I told her, fine. I told her how much it was. And then I told her, okay. I told her my art ACS policies, which I'll tell you about in a minute. I have policies written out of what, if you're going to purchase some from me, some of the things you have to follow. I also sent her an ACS payment invoice. We'll talk about that in a minute. I use PayPal's for protections and sent an invoice to the client. So I sent the invoice to the client, and this always took a couple of days for her to answer me back. So she answers me back. She said, well, I'm going to let you talk to the company person because they only pay invoices through wire transfers or something like that. I said, well, I'm not going to do a wire transfer. I don't know who you are. I said, for protections, I go through all retailers because I am a retailer, go through PayPal. I said, PayPal is used all over the world. Amazon, I named all kind of companies. So I finally talked to the person who was the purchase person, and she went ahead and she did purchase. I sent her an invoice. I asked them what the address was of where I was shipping the item to. She gave me the shipping address and she gave me a contact because I got a quote to find out exactly how much it cost to ship. So I sent the invoice to her. She paid by credit card. So the next, to make a long story short, the scam was with this particular person. Once the artwork was ready and the artist got the artwork was ready and was ready to ship, they had to say, oh, we don't want it to go to that address. We want it to be sent to another address. I said, I'm very sorry, we cannot do that. This is the address you gave me. This is what's on the invoice. I have to send it to this address. And we must have kept back and forth for almost a week.
Wow.
Then they said, well, can we deliver it? We agreed, in which I'm glad I didn't end up doing. We agreed we'll deliver it in person because the artist in New York to the actual address. First, they tried to say for the delivery that the World Trade Center does not allow delivery, but before 7:30 a.m. and after 5 p.m. I'm like, come on. Now, that sounds crazy. I'm like, no. And then they want to know ahead of time who the person was so they can let them into security. I said, that's no problem. I said, but rather than do that, we can meet you in the lobby to hand deliver it to you. And I said, there will be something you have to sign and we'll take a picture.
Right.
Okay. That take a week or so they didn't answer. Then it came back and that lady that was dealing with, who was actually the art dealer, said she was going to London and she was going to let me talk to her assistant because she would not be available. I don't know where internet's not available around the world, but that's a whole nother conversation. So I talked to her assistant that had been CC'd, and she tried to get me to come send it to another address. To make a long story short, then the person that was actually buying the art got involved and said, well, the World Trade Center doesn't allow freight to be delivered to the World Trade Center, which is not the truth, because I asked Federal Express, do you deliver to the World Trade Center? They said all day, every day. There's not a problem. So I end up sending the art out to them. It got delivered, and I delivered it to the people. They tried to say after that they didn't get the artwork, right, but they did because they had somebody sign. So I believe there was some kind of scam there. I don't believe if they have a suite there, it's probably, how you have those shared suites with people. Right. Office suites, I think it's something like that. And what I think their scam is, they tell people to ship art and they say they don't get it. Right. And then they ask for their money back.
Exactly. Yeah, so, they cancel the payment if they, exactly. However they done the wire transfer, whatever they have done, exactly.
And if you give them your bank account information, they can then use your information to debit the money out of your account.
Right.
So those are the two type of scams.
Yeah.
So some of the things I look for, how I conduct myself when I'm doing online transitions. The first thing I would suggest for artists, but I don't know if everybody will want to do this, but I would really sell my online. If I wouldn't have thought of this until this happened to me, but I would really prefer selling online art on an established company like Saatchi. Am I pronouncing that right? Saatchi. Saatchi Art. There are other online companies that offer where artists can have a page where they can sell artwork. And the reason why you want to do that, because it offers you protections. Right. At Saatchi Art, I did look and see, they do have, like, if you see some art you want to buy, there's a way that you click on a button and you can make contact with the artist. This way, it gives you a correspondence history. Exactly. You have a history of who you're dealing with. And a big company like that has a history of the person that's inquiring.
Exactly. Which is something that a lot of these people want to avoid. That's why when, you push them to go through Artsy or through other sites, they say, no, I don't want to. I'd rather do it through you. Exactly. Because they want to avoid that
exactly.
That trail. Yeah.
And if you have your own website and you still don't want to go through those companies, which is fine, and you want to do your own selling through your website, I would suggest doing all your transactions by email. This way you have a documentation of what's been said to the person you're selling to and what they've said to you. Because if you ever had to do something legally, unless you're recording your conversation, you really would have no documentation of the back and forth contractual agreement you've had with the person. So I would suggest that you always do everything through email and keep a copy of all the correspondence that's going on. And if you do things like have work bought through your website, I'm assuming if I were you, I would go through PayPal, or QuickBooks has an invoice system where you can personalize the invoice. Like my invoice is personalized that says ACS Gallery with my logo. And the thing that's good about using that, they have guaranteed protections. I use PayPal. And because I sent the last buyer invoice through PayPal, when I ship the information, I shipped it through FedEx, all I have to do is load the shipping tracking number into PayPal, and that's now into PayPal. So if the buyer tries to say they didn't get it, or they try to ask for their money back, PayPal guarantees your invoice.
Right.
So I think that's a good protection to have. And the QuickBooks, I know they have something like that.
Right.
Or if you do use your own website and you use a credit card, then usually you should find out the various credit cards that you use usually have protections about, transactions.
Right.
But you want to I would make sure before I start them, because there's so much online scams, I would make sure, especially with credit cards, because there's a vast number of credit cards out there, I would find out which credit cards I want to accept, because if there's a problem with the transaction, you want to make sure that you're covered and the person that's buying from you can't ask for their money back or scam you in any kind of way.
Exactly. No, I think that's very valuable information, Renee, and I think that, everything that you shared is so true that, it's the idea of having and being ready, having a process in which if somebody contacts you, what's the process in which they can get your work, And if you stick to that process, then they have to follow that process. If it's PayPal or if it's the other system that you use that you trust, then you can say when they offer, well, I'm going to send you a check, then that's okay. No, this is my process. It's not your process. This is how I set it up. My business, my art career. This is how you buy my art. You don't have to accommodate to their request. They are the ones who are approaching you, who are buying the work. They have to follow your process that you have established. It's like going to, if you go to a store or say, hey, I want to pay you with silver coins. Of course they will not accept that.
Yes. And I also created an ACS Purchase Policy, and I that includes I let the person know up front before I send them the invoice when they start inquiring and they ask me the total price. I always ask them, I need to know a complete address, right, plus a zip code. That's a flag right there, right, if the person doesn't want to give you their address. Yeah. Okay. Then also I tell them that it takes up to 10 days for the business transaction to go through. Nowadays, it does not take 10 days for you to get the payment. But I call my bank. There's some behind the scenes balancing checks that have to go on, even though the money ends up in your bank account. Exactly. So this way, it gives you time. If the person wants to reverse the charge, they can't readily reverse the charge And if they do, you'll see it.
Right.
It'll come out right away.
Exactly.
Then after that, on my policy, it talks about after the transition process has been finished, then I will notify them and give them a tracking number when the package has been shipped.
Mm-hmm.
So they should have a clear written in writing, put it in an email. So again, if you have problems with this person in the future, they can't say, oh, you didn't tell me that. You can refer back to your email.
Exactly.
And tell them this is what happened.
Yep. And it's something that you can write down once, then save it in a file so that every time you just copy and paste it, and that's your policy. You use the same policy for everybody. And especially, when they want you to ship artwork overseas to, places that say, I don't know, I'm not sure, that's exactly when you want to protect yourself. I remember that one of the companies that was looking into buying the work, I think it was when you and I looked them up and we did some more research. They were listed as some sort of stock image library company. Remember that? And
exactly,
we were like,
image,
wait a minute,
image company.
Yeah,
they were listed as the art buyer. Yes, the art buyer dealer was actually listed as some kind of imaging company where they store images. And the first thing I thought, they want to buy this piece and they want to make images of it and sell it.
Yeah, sell them in another country where you'll never know.
Exactly. I mean, why would you call yourself a dealer, but your website says something totally different?
Exactly. So, those are the things. And unfortunately, these things take time to track and they waste your time. That's what they're doing. They're very smart. They're trying to waste your time, and it's one of their tactics. I'm really happy that you gave them names, the multi-level scam and the pressure, right?
And you really want to sell, and of course, as a gallery, of course, I want to sell, but you have to do your due diligence. Don't be so antsy to think about the money. Think about you want the process to go smoothly. Anybody spending thousands of dollars or spending any money on some artwork will be patient enough that they want the process to be right.
Exactly.
And even like in shipping, I would recommend, and you could really say that, so you need to use a reputable shipping company, FedEx, out of the country, DHL. You can use FedEx out of the country too, or UPS. And the reason why I would say with those companies, because they have some guaranteed policies.
Right.
Now, the United States Post Office, I'm not saying you can't ship with them, but if it's going out of the country, I would make sure you understand what the policies are, their limitations, and what they can do before I ship it.
Right, exactly.
Not that you couldn't use it, but just make sure you understand where you're covered. And then go ahead.
No, say go ahead.
And then if you absolutely do want to accept personal checks or cashier's checks, I would really, advise against it. But if you think you're comfortable to do that, I would make sure before I accept it that it's a well-known bank in the United States or an international bank like Chase, Citibank, BMO. Make sure it's a bank where if you do get that, you could go to the bank and actually present the check or cashier's check to make sure it clears. I would make sure it's a reputable bank if I absolutely wanted to accept a check from somebody.
Exactly. Well, very well said. Thank you, Renee. Here's one, for example, one typical email. This one I just got on June 30th, so just a couple days ago, at 9:48 p.m. from a guy named Nicholas Hagen. And he said, "Hello, Sergio. I hope my email inquiry finds you in the best of conditions, as just recently I came across your profile and saw images of your work on your website, and typically they will list your website. I personally feel it would be great purchasing paintings from you. Kindly state the price range and size of paintings in your collection that are currently available for sale. Honestly, expecting a positive email response from you so I know how to proceed." So that was their first email. So my response was, I said, "Hi, Nicholas, thank you for your inquiry. My work is only available via artsy.net through ACS Gallery. Please follow this link if seriously interested." So I placed the link to where the work can be purchased. And then the next reply, which came the next day, says, "Thank you for your email reply, Sergio. Because I am new to this, I prefer dealing with you directly rather than going through a third-party website and want to be involved in every process and progress being made. Sincerely look forward to a favorable response from you, so I am well guided on how to proceed. So that right there is a big red flag, right?
Oh,
That's a huge
yeah.
one. And this one is this is a typical email. I have gotten many of these, in the last few years, and they always the wording just keeps changing a little bit, but it's the same idea that they don't want to follow any online gallery or anything like that. They want to only go through you, so that you send them some information. They pick a work. Then what they'll want to do is they'll want you FedEx you a check, and many times I've talked to artists who they actually have received a check, have gone through the whole process of talking to these people. They have received a check in by FedEx, and then they ship the work, and of course it has no funds, or they cancel it, or something bad happens. So
Oh,
those
wow.
are the red flags. Another typical email that comes in is that I've gotten also a few times, like, hey, I saw my wife looking at your website, and our anniversary is coming, and I want to surprise her with a gift from one of your works, and then the story goes on. And yeah, they're getting clever. It's very clever, how these emails are coming in, and the stories are typical. There's some iffy payment process or shipping addresses and things like that. So, it's very good. I think that, Renee, that you and I were sharing some of these stories and help artists to be protected, because first, you're going to be wasting a lot of time with these people. If you keep going with the conversation, they'll try to get you to keep going and keep going, so it becomes more believable in your mind. Because at the end of the day, like I said, everybody wants to sell their art, right? Whether you're a gallery or you're an
Yes.
artist on your own. And of course, when somebody says, "I'm interested in your art," you're like, "Yes, that's
Yeah,
that's
you are
awesome."
excited. Yes.
And so they take advantage of that, and of that factor. So you gotta be careful. At the end of the day, you can spend a lot of time talking to these people, only to find out that it's a scam. So the earlier that you can catch them and find these red flags, the earlier you can say, this is not worthwhile. Stop replying to the emails, and that's the end
What
of it.
I did to the ones that had the multi-level scam, because by then it was like six different people
Mm-hmm.
that were emailing me, and the main dealer that I dealt with and her assistant, I basically sent her an email and worded her and said, at the advice of my attorney for ACS Gallery, I will no longer be, corresponding with you
Mm-hmm.
about this particular. I named the artwork and who the artists were,
Mm-hmm.
and that he is going to be investigating the situation because this is unorthodox. And the only way I will deliver the artwork will be directly to the address given on the invoice.
Exactly.
And that's it. And I will no longer be corresponding to you directly.
Exactly.
And then I had called PayPal, and they said to honor the seller agreement, go ahead and ship the art. And I shipped it and have them receive. They received it, and that's the way they will protect me. And that's what I did. And they then sent me and said, oh, I sent them the tracking number of where it got tracked, and then they got delivered, and then they tried to say it was delivered to the wrong suite. These are the same people that said you couldn't deliver anything to the World Trade Center. So it definitely was a scam,
Mm-hmm.
and I've left it alone.
Right. Exactly.
And what the artist also can do is say if you are scammed, and it does happen, you can find the local state or state attorney general's office,
Mm-hmm.
and they usually have a consumer protection unit where you can report scams
Mm-hmm.
and report what happens to you. You also can report it to the Better Business Bureau. All over the United States, they have Better Business Bureaus that you can report. And I'm sure out of the country, each country has some type of consumer protection organization that you can report things to when you do have somebody that has tried to scam you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think artists need to stick up for ourselves.
Right.
And galleries when we do, because there's so many scams out there happening, unfortunately.
Exactly, and they're getting more clever, and they're getting more that appear to be legit, creating fictitious companies. So yeah, definitely it's becoming harder and harder to catch them.
Yeah, the more, and you can actually, that's the beautiful thing about the internet. You can turn it back on them, though. You can research
Exactly.
someone's company. I actually researched the last scam, this more laughing scam, And the name they had for the company that was in the World Trade Center was actually I looked it up in New York, because if you have a business that high profile in New York, then you have to be incorporated in that state. So when I looked it up, they said this was just a AKA name, and this company was owned by a foreign government, a foreign company. So that gave me a flag.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can do your due diligence. It may take time, but unless you just have money coming out of the gills, I would say it's worth it to take time to find out who you're dealing with.
Exactly. And also the beauty also, of this idea of community, whenever you get some of these things, share it with other artists so that other artists are also aware of these possible scams that are out there. So that is great. I've seen a lot of artists who do that. They go on Facebook and say, hey, I just got an email that looked like this, watch out. And that's a great thing, because it helps everybody protect each other out. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Well,
I agree.
Well, Renée, thank you so much. Believe it or not, we've been talking already for about 40 minutes or so.
Oh my God.
it's I think it was well worth conversation, helping our friends to be safe when it comes to selling art online, and to watch out for those red flags. And unfortunately, that may delay the process a little bit for those really authentic buyers who are out there. But it's worthwhile. Like I said, if they love your work and if they're interested, they'll wait a couple extra days while they follow your process. That is okay, and it will protect you.
I agree.
Absolutely. So, Renée, before we go, can you tell us how our friends can find you? How can they find ACS Gallery? Which that I can say because I know it's located. Your actual gallery is the brick and mortar is at the Joby Art Center, the 4th floor of the Joby Art Center on 35th and Morgan in Chicago, and we have openings the third Friday of every month, so you can come and check out the space. You can meet Renée as well. But tell us about your ACS magazine. Where can our friends find it? How can they download it? When is the next issue coming out?
The next issue is the July-August issue. It'll be coming out next Monday. And the website where they can, find the issue is at www.acs-mag.com. And you can find me on my Facebook page. It'll be posted on Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Instagram. And I would like you also to check out my Artsy page, which is www.artsy.net/ACS-gallery. So I really look forward to seeing everybody. And please look out for my next magazine, which is coming out on Monday. Next Monday. It's going to be exciting. I delayed it since it's the holiday. So, so people could really have time to look at it.
Awesome. That sounds great, Renée. Thank you so much again for your time. And I know you're busy and you're doing all kinds of things, but thank you for sharing also your expertise, to sharing the insight that you have also about your businesses and how you're dealing with these bad people that are out there trying to scam us all. So,
yes.
Thanks again. Any last words before we close?
Thank you very much for letting me be on Art Next Level.
Awesome. It's our pleasure, Renée. Thank you so much. And with this, I want to close, and I want to thank all of our listeners. Again, don't forget to check us out online at www.theartistnextlevel.com, and I will see you at the next level.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.